Hi, Jeremy Cordeaux in the Court of Public Opinion. I'm just on air here to let you know that we'll be live streaming the Court of Public Opinion every Friday between 9 o'clock and 12 on jeremycordeaux.com. Please join us. We'd love to have you.
Hey there, listeners. This episode was recorded before the COVID-19 pandemic. If you're stuck at home, as we now are, we're glad we can keep you company. Stay safe.
Why don't you write when you don't need money, honey? That would certainly make a hit.
Welcome back, everybody. We are the Word Docs, Alex, Amy and Sean. I'm Amy. I'm Sean. Sorry, we've spent so much time in this booth together, I'm losing track of who I am.
I'm Sean. I'll stick with that. That's fine.
Is it?
Yeah. No, that's good.
You'll have to lose all your hair and put on about 20 kilos.
You've got to live in my flat, so it's a very good, it's a great swap.
Welcome back. Today, we decided that we would pick up on something that Amy raised in
Amy's
our last
wise.
episode.
Well done, Amy, over there.
Yeah. Am I Amy? Oh, that's all right. Oh, what a fantastic coincidence. We're going to talk about networking. What it is it important? Why would you do it? How would you do it? Where would you do it? All those kind of things.
Hopefully. I brought it up last time because it's one of those things that you hear when people talk about the secret is like, is networking important? Is it who you know rather than what you know? And I think it drives a lot of conventions, a lot of conferences, a lot of festivals. I think when you live somewhere, we're all living in Adelaide, South Australia, which is, very remote for most publishing networks. We have a really big small press network, and Sean and I are both published internationally, so it doesn't stop you from publishing out of New York or London, but we're a long way from publishers and agents, and so when you hear that networking is important, you can feel a little bit of panic.
I must speak to the other humans.
I'll go and talk to the koalas now.
That's combined with the natural panic of the native author, which is, the tendency is normally to hide in the study in the dark.
And if I go to like a conference cocktail party where I don't know anyone, I just want to run to my room.
You have to go with somebody, don't you?
Yeah,
even if
you've got to have an ally.
Yeah, even if you end up just standing in the corner with that somebody,
I make
at least you can say you've been.
I make a joke to my partner that it's like the thoroughbred with the pony in the stable. You know how like the Melbourne Cup thoroughbreds, they have a stable pony that goes with them everywhere to keep them calm because they're so highly strung. So in their stable, they'll have a little pony that is like really laid back and just like trots along beside them like everything's fine. And I'm always like, I need a pony.
I need to literally take a pony to a cocktail party.
I want a T-shirt that says, I need a pony. And I think we should start our own brand of merchandising.
All right.
I think that'd be great. So,
all right, sure. All right, Suzanne, done.
Done. Excellent. Maybe we can
I'd
get
rather do that than networking.
So Garth and I go to Garth Nix and I collaborate with Garth Nix. We're often at conventions together. We'll go to parties together, like publishers' parties, that kind of thing. We'll turn up together. We'll walk around the room. So people will see that we've been there, and then usually we'll go...
End up in the bar.
Oh, yeah, we'll go back to our room to watch old episodes of Doctor Who or something like that while drinking.
How long? So is it one cycle? What is that, 10 minutes?
Yeah, maybe. But sometimes we might meet other friends who might stick around. But if we don't,
that's
we'll
the thing.
go.
It gets easier, right? So I now have certain things I go to where I know someone, and then I've slowly over years made lots of friends there, and it's no longer scary networking. They're just a bunch of people who are lovely who I talk to. Who happen to be in publishing.
And I guess you've got to remember that most people in that room probably feel the same way.
Yes. I was at a Sydney Writers' Festival once, and I went to the party, and there was...
I'm so bad at those.
Oh, so am I. And I was there on my own, and I walked around the room once. There was nobody there that I knew, and this is so unusual. By that point, I was a full-time writer and had a career and knew a lot of people, but that night, none of them were there. So I thought, this is my worst nightmare. There must be somebody. So I walked around again, and still nobody. And I thought, well, it's been sort of 20 minutes now. If I could do one more loop, surely somebody I know will have arrived. I did a third loop and there was nobody. But what I'd noticed, there was another guy standing in the middle of the room, and he hadn't talked to anybody the whole time and was looking as lost as I was. And I thought, well, I can either leave or I can go up and talk to this guy. So I did.
Good on you.
So I went up and I said, you obviously don't know anybody here either, and he said, no, I don't know anybody. But now I know you. And we had a great conversation and ended up going going out for dinner and meeting next day for breakfast, and he was a crime writer from England, and we had a great old time, and I've never spoken to him again. But I was so grateful that he was there. And then gradually, because I started just not moving around so much, people started coming up.
Do you think as well,
it just was amazing.
Because when I say that I'm shy and bad at networking, I'm fine if there's nothing at stake, right? So if you just remember these are people and I'm just having a chat, but when you go into those very kind of high stakes conferences or something where you're around people who are networking mercilessly and there's this sense that, okay, here's this publisher that you're supposed to impress, then I freeze up. But if it's just a person where I'm talking about their dog or like what they've done in Sydney that day, or that's fine. It's if I feel like I need to sell myself that I freeze up.
I've been in situations like that and just haven't spoken to that person, but I clocked how to get to them later. I clocked
so we're learning how Machiavellian you are.
Yeah, Machiavellian. I've gone, okay, that's that person who knows that person. So actually a better way would be not at this event, but there might be a side way of doing it. I will not name who this person was, but I was backstage at a play in Sydney, and quite a well-known actor was talking to me, and we were kind of chatting and having a great time because I had no idea who I was talking to until suddenly someone identified her by name, and I went, oh shit, that's you. And then I just couldn't speak from that point. And she's like, we've been talking for half an hour. Yeah. I'm like, nah, we're done.
But some people have this great knack of putting you at ease too, don't they? They just...
The Queen would be very good at that.
I bet the Queen. Alex is obsessed with the Queen. Have we talked about that yet? Obsessed.
I think we did. The topic of the Queen did come up in episode 2, I think.
I have started watching The Crown, and every time I watch it, I think of Alex.
Don't know how to take that. But yeah, there are certain people who are very good at doing that. I met
Nora Roberts once, and she was like that.
Oh, good.
We were at a conference, and we couldn't actually get into the room because it was so packed. It was in New York, and we just couldn't get in. So we got a drink from the bar and just stood outside in the foyer. And she came walking out. She's always got. So I think she might be quite anxious. She always travels with her best friend. And
her best friend is her pony.
And they share a room, and she goes everywhere with her and is like clearly her support pony. And she walked past, we were standing there talking, and she was so sweet. It was my partner and I. And she just came over and kind of rubbed my arm, was like, are you having a good time? And it was just, she was so nice. I've never forgotten it because, she's Nora Roberts. She's like Stephen King, Nora Roberts. There's like 5 writers in the world, J.K. Rowling, who are so huge. And it was just a really nice, sweet thing to do.
And I think people at that kind of level appreciate being treated like a normal person, which you would have done with Nora, I'm sure.
Yeah, just smiled and said hi. Johnny had no idea who she was. It was amazing. I didn't tell him until after she'd left because, Johnny unfiltered is pretty good.
Yeah.
But if he's trying, he's being worse.
Not great. I just hate it when people...
he's great,
there's a certain personality type. I was on a film set once and this actor was there, and this... friend of mine who was working as an extra went, I'm going to go and bring them down a peg or two. And I went, what is that? This is like reverse networking where you're going to go up to them. You're going to try and neg this person. And there is sometimes weirdly...
How to neg a celebrity.
How to neg a celebrity.
Probably a book in that.
Yeah.
But
there's a T-shirt for us.
This comes up as a thing that I think I see quite often where I'm gonna put that person in their place. And you go, you're not. It's not what's going to happen here. You're just going to be...
a dick.
You're going to be a bit of a knob. Yeah.
That's an important part of networking. Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Oh, people remember.
Oh, they do.
And also, they're really, shameless networking. People don't they don't want to be used.
Sometimes it works for them, I think.
No, I just mean, how you get the people who bail the publisher up to tell them the entire plot of their book when they're just trying to get a canapé. Really?
I just want that spring roll.
There's a famous story in science fiction, and again, I won't name names, a very, very high-powered editor went to the toilet, and while she's sitting there on the stall, somebody slipped the manuscript under the door.
That comes out in romance writers. It's like one of those urban legends, that one. But I've talked to publishers, and it pretty much happens.
It does happen, yeah.
Do you think
see this panicked look if you get into an elevator and they're there and you're alone in the elevator? They get this slightly shifty, panicked look. Like, are you going to start telling me your plot?
Because the elevator pitch is such a cliche. I always think, well, it's an open question. Would you agree that despite all of my Machiavellian statements, that at the end of the day, you're going to click with a human being or you're not, and that some of that networking is forced. And actually,
also, how much does it really matter?
How much does it really matter? I mean, sometimes I just think if you genuinely like the person, you're not networking anymore. Now you're just chatting.
And I've made friends that way.
Yeah.
But I also think in the end, the work is the work.
Yes.
I think you can be a reclusive, unable to talk to anyone kind of person, or a bit of a dick, and write a brilliant piece of work. It will still get published. And you can be the nicest, friendliest, chattiest person in the world and have an address book full of names, but the work's not up to scratch and it's just not going to get published. Or if it will get published and won't find an audience, or like in the end, the work is the work.
You have to be able to deliver something that people want to publish.
But it's nice. If they like you, they do want to try and keep working with you.
I being a shy person, had never done lots of networking overseas until 2003, and I was convinced that I needed to go to World Fantasy Convention, which was in Washington that year. So
Did you go alone?
No pony. You went out without a pony?
No, I had lots of ponies. I was sharing a suite with Garth Nix and Jonathan Strauss and Summer Brown.
Fine.
So I had lots of ponies
What's
around
the collective
me.
now?
And famous ponies. You were basically with the racehorses. They're famous ponies.
I know, that's right.
What's
and
not
I was
a tribe of horses? What is it, a herd?
Well, this was a mancation of sci-fi writers. And it was on this particular conference where the great Australian sci-fi writer, male sci-fi writer tradition of drinking manly pink drinks was created. So these were sea breezes, actually. So we're in the same vein. But I decided I ought to go to kind of meet people. And Fiona McIntosh came along as well. And she's such a great networker. I felt quite embarrassed being near her because she was so good at it and I was so shit at it. But so I eventually gave up and thought I'll just drink lots of pink drinks and meet people I'd never seen to see what happens. So, and on the last night of the con, I was leaning up against the bar with a couple of Doctor Who fans and just chatting about their experiences with Doctor Who because they were Americans and I was an Australian. We had very different backgrounds and having a great time. And I went back home eventually via London. I'll come back to London in a sec. And maintained email contact with these guys and we swapped favourite episodes, all that kind of stuff. And then one of them became the commissioning editor for a new sci-fi imprint in America, and he bought 4 of my novels. He said, have you got anything lying around? I said, yeah, I have actually. It's never been published in the States, so he picked that up.
But then part of that is because you didn't force it on him.
I didn't force it on him.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
The other guy was the creator of iZombie, who wrote the graphic novel, and he started his own little imprint and bought a novella from me. So I sold 5 books from that conversation. But the other thing I did on that trip was that I went through England and I'd done a little bit of research beforehand and had decided which editors I should meet. So I did the hard sell meetings, but there was another guy.
So, did you just cold call them?
I cold emailed them. And said, I'm coming to London. I've had these books published, rah. It would be nice to catch up. And I haven't been published much in England, so it was an opportunity for me to try and sell myself as an author over there. Didn't make a single sale out of that. But there was another Australian editor who had been working for a big publisher, and I dropped him a line, got his email from a friend and said, can we meet up for a coffee? Aussie to Aussie. I've never been to London before. You've lived here for a while. And he said, I don't have a job anywhere at the moment. And I said, no, that's not why I'm contacting you. So we did. We had a great day. We went and had like sausages and mash. This was back when I ate meat. And
so we basically we're talking about making friends.
Yeah, we were making friend. And then he, like 2 weeks later, he got a job and he bought a trilogy from me. So
bangers
and it was
and
just
bangers
and mash is the key. So the key network is finding people.
Vegetarian bangers.
The trick for that, that trip.
Is that still a banger, or is that a bit more? Is that more of a whimper than a banger?
There's some very masculine meat alternatives available on the market.
That's
do a
right.
lot with mash.
Tofurkey.
Tofurkey. I actually like the taste of not bacon.
Fakin. There's a lot of new ones on the market at the moment.
I love Linda McCartney. We're going somewhere else now.
We are
going
Can
somewhere else.
I pull it back a little bit?
No. Yes, you
Even
can.
though, as much as I love Tofurkey.
I'll just finish my little yarn by saying that I think that what I did was primed these relationships for the opportunities that then came. There are plenty of other friends that I made on that trip, but they didn't end up becoming commissioning editors or publishers, but they're still friends.
But
these guys just happen. You increase the odds of someone you know and like and who knows and likes you of being able to do business with you.
So I had 2 questions. One is, what do you say to people who don't have the capacity, means to travel? Like if you are in somewhere remote, whether it be, I don't know, Adelaide or a small town somewhere in the world, wherever you are in the world, what do you do if you can't get physical access to people? And then the other point, before we come back to that, before I forget it, I wanted to, you were talking about making friends. I was thinking about when you do a degree, when we went through doing our PhD, it's funny now because I've graduated like 12 or 13 years ago, I look at the group that I went through with who might have started before me, after me, around the same time, and they've gone on to be publishers, agents, writers of all different kinds, filmmakers, one who's making television, and
critics.
the act of going through some kind of creative arts, creative industries
I think that
degree.
is the major, or maybe not the major, but is one of the key advantages to actually going to uni or TAFE or any of those kinds of courses, is actually the people you meet in the class.
Or
doing
joining
it
fantasy writers, romance writers, or writers essay, or
short
one
courses,
of those.
anything.
Yeah, you meet people.
Actually, the people you meet is as valuable as the skills you develop, I think. And those relationships are genuine because usually you spend an extended period of time together. I think it's the major, and I don't think we tell that to students enough. Actually, look at the people next to you in the room.
Yeah, they're
These
important.
are your collaborators.
Yeah.
These are the people that you're going to go on this journey with. I think that's crucial. And
that's one of the things I love about the Flinders model, just doing a bit of a sell for Flinders University. When you start the BCA, Bachelor of Creative Arts here, you start with a cohort that you'll follow all the way through.
Yes, I think
which is amazing.
it's key. Yeah. And there's people that that I went through uni with that are going to be lifelong friends, and the sounding boards you trust to give you feedback on things. I think all of that's really, really important. The other question you asked about access, it is trickier. I have more of a film background where you do have to get to know people in order for them to read something you send, and that is hard to avoid. And even finding those people is very difficult.
Because I think in writing you still need some credibility. Like that's where short stories come in, I think. Publishing short stories, like getting some kind of credibility so people will look at your work, competitions, awards.
That was how I did it. When I dropped out of uni in 89, dropped out of an economics degree, not a creative writing degree.
How
I should be quick to say 2.5 years.
That's
but
down the path.
Down the path. But I dropped out of uni and I decided that my strategy would be to write short stories, lots and lots of short stories, and seeing if I could get a name for myself that way. And that's exactly what happened. I published a lot of short stories. When editors in Australia were looking for science fiction and fantasy, they were asking booksellers, who should we keep an eye out for? The booksellers had seen my short fiction and gave them my name. So that was how I did. I mean, I hardly went to Sydney, hardly went to any conventions.
I have a really funny story from a friend of mine, and he won't mind me naming him, Dan McGuinness. You know Dan. And he has a comic book store here in Adelaide called Greenlight Comics. But he used to work in another comic book store, and he's just one of these guys that does stuff, right? So he started a skate company. He's done all kinds of things. He's a filmmaker. He's an amazing artist. And a publisher, I think it was Scholastic, one of the publishers was in town and came into his comics bookstore and was sort of asking him about, hey, Dan is like, what do you do? What's this? He asked a million questions. And she was like, oh, I'm a publisher. And he's like, I could do that. And she's like, really? And he's like, I could do that. And she was like, all right, send me something, and gave him the card, and he got the full book.
That's hilarious.
And he's now, he actually illustrates all Ando's kids' books.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
But he did it by just going, I could do that.
Yeah. And there is a kind of fake it till you make it thing too.
Yeah.
And that's not even faking it, that's believing it.
That's confidence.
It's confidence.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes, and I'm still like this, I'm reluctant to tell anyone that I write. I generally say teach. Podcast is probably going to give it away. But because you feel like...
We don't use our surnames here on this podcast.
No, we should. Alex Vickery House.
Shush.
Yes.
Silence.
It's the best name ever.
Amy Matthews.
Which is a slightly more boring name. And in
Not
fact,
as
I had
boring
to
as
add
Sean
the
Williams.
T. I had to add Amy T because there's a home and away actress called Amy Matthews. And then there's a woman who does slightly risque art. So if you Google my name, the art comes up.
Is your middle name start with a T?
Tiberius.
Yeah.
Tiberius.
Yeah,
Amy
exactly.
Tiberius
Just
Matthews.
like Kirk.
Yes,
Just like
exactly.
Anyway, you were saying about access.
No, I think, feeling, when do you say you're a writer and feeling confident about that. I also think there's a thing about if you do get the ear of someone who could potentially help you, don't bombard them with stuff.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Like a very well-written one-pager is probably better than giving someone a screenplay or a
the whole
screenplay
novel.
plus a mood reel plus, a T-shirt,
Also, I think the other thing I think is no one cares about plot the way you care about plot. You know, they might want a little hook or a one sentence that sums it up, but no one wants to hear. Like, I've heard so many plots over the years where people, and it's like, I don't really care if Harold met, you know, Maud. I don't really care if this great thing happened 600 pages in, because I'm not reading the book. And if I want to read the book, I'll read the book.
Yeah. Oh, you should be able to say it in one line, I think. I mean, it's hard. Some things are very hard, but that's why I love snakes on a plane.
It doesn't.
Everyone knows.
Didn't somebody get bitten by a scorpion on a plane not that long ago? And I was thinking franchise.
Support pony on a plane. Did you see that? Thanksgiving?
Support pony on a plane.
Oh, I really want those T-shirts now.
We do need support pony T-shirts.
Oh, we do need support ponies.
We can have, like, you can buy the Alex support pony, the
It's
Amy
a kind of
support pony.
crazy looking horse. One of them's a Shetland.
That would be me, because you can't see us. I'll take a photo for our website, but these two have got their microphones propped up because they're taller than me and mine's not. I'm very short.
I'm trying to take a photo of Alex to make him look like a giant.
I swear we were drunk right now. We've only had chocolate.
I would still argue that I actually think you can get by with no networking at all. The thing that will be valuable for networking is information. And so it doesn't have to be with the publishers. It needs to be with people who have the information that you need.
Yes, I think that's fair. And
how to write a synopsis. And whether that you're getting that from a book or whether you're going to a writing centre and doing a course or a university on it,
or
whether
advice
you're
from a friend,
or listening to us.
At the end of the day, I don't think there's any point networking if it's ingenuine.
Or if you haven't written the book. This
Or
is
if you
the other
haven't written
thing.
the book.
You
Yeah.
see this all the time. I'm sure it's true in film. You run into people all the time who are going out there setting up their social media accounts.
Yeah.
I've heard that you need Twitter. So I've got a Twitter author account going. I've heard that you need to go to conferences and you see people pitching. So at a lot of conferences they have pitches where you sign up to pitch to publishers, and it's like a bit like speed dating. And you see people pitch, but they haven't written the book. And it's just like, what? Why? What are you selling?
Well, they're
exactly?
selling themselves, aren't they?
Yeah.
And that's part of the job. They say that publishers don't buy books, they buy writers, they buy authors. So I guess people are getting half the equation right by working out how to sell themselves. But as you correctly say, you've got to have a book at the end of it. So when my strategy of sending out lots of short stories and getting my name mentioned to publishers kind of came to fruition when a friend of mine in a bookstore, small press publisher, rang me up and said, "Commissioning editor of HarperCollins, Louise Thurtell, has just rung up looking for names," and I gave her yours. If you've got anything at all, send it in. So I had a half-finished book. I chopped out 3 chapters, sent the synopsis in, and Louise came back pretty quickly and said, "We'd like to see your book." But I hadn't finished it, but I was able to say...
But you had published other things.
I published lots of short stories,
you've got
and I
a
said,
track
"Give me a
record."
month and I'll finish the book." And I did. I finished it when I said I would, send it in, and she bought it. But so you can kind of...
Flip that
a little bit, but you have to be confident that you can deliver.
I think I'm
if you're
still
selling
a
yourself.
little bit. I mean, and this is interesting too, because I think everyone's very different about what kind of career they want and what kind of person they are. And I'm just a real purist about the book should come, like in terms of your career, I would write whether I never got published or not.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so I think the work is always more important than anything else. And that sound like a wanker
No, I
saying
think
it
that's
like that.
completely valid. What are the 3 things they say you need? Is to show up on time, be a nice person, and be good at what you do.
As long as you can do 2 of those.
As long as you can do 2.
That's good.
And I think that, and it's as weird as it sounds, there aren't that many people who can do 2 of the 3. There's 3.
So what are they again? Show up on time.
Show up on time, be a nice person to be around, and actually deliver the goods.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who can deliver the goods, but they're tardy and they treat you like shit.
Yeah.
There are, I think of all the different combinations now. There are a lot of nice people that turn up on time.
Publishers, talking about authors who are not very nice to work with. And they would, if another author came along who could deliver the same kind of goods but was nicer to work with, they would go with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they would phase out your career even.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you were, because there are people who are awful to editors and publishers and agents, like just, and same, I mean, you see it in workplaces too, people who, and I always love Dave Barry had a quote, which is, if your date is nice to you but rude to the waiter, they're not a nice person.
Absolutely.
Right.
That is such a turn off.
Yeah.
I have good friends who will still remain nameless who are shocking to waiters. And it's like, I am your friend.
You see it with like professional staff too, people who might be mean to the person trying to fix the photocopier.
I can't
It's like,
stand
yeah,
it.
me too. too.
My mother was a waitress, so she's vicious about it.
I was a waitress.
She's
Good on her.
vicious about anyone who's like that. And my mother's wonderful and vicious in general. But I admire that because it's such a sign of someone's character when they feel like they're on top.
And it's such a risky strategy in a workplace environment, in an industry where there are no job guarantees. So
Yes.
No.
you can possibly get away with being an arsehole if you're working in public service where it's much harder to sack somebody who's an
Yes.
arsehole. But as Amy, as you say, if you're an arsehole, people will just stop buying your books eventually.
And the ladders change in industries like this so quickly.
They do,
That someone that might be on top of the world for a year, a very dear actor friend of mine, James Aubrey, he knew the Ian McDermott from Star Wars. They were friends, apparently. He always just name drop him. But the other person he met...
You practically know Ian McDermott, don't you?
I'm just a little bit in love with Ian McDermott, but not in a sex way. There's a quote for you. There's
That's
a
the
T-shirt
title
quote.
of this episode, not in a sex way.
Not in a sex way.
Networking, not in a sex way.
Oh, yeah. Hello. I'm writing that down, listeners.
But James Aubrey met Emma Thompson. She was quite young at the time and came backstage. I can't remember the play he said he was doing. He said this beautiful young woman on a bike came up and said, I want to be an actor too. And
She took a bite backstage.
Well, stage door, probably.
Maybe it was a monocycle, so you could fit that in.
It was a penny
Unicycle,
farthing. It was a
yeah.
penny farthing. That's the story.
Yeah, sticking with it.
Emma Thompson listening to this never happened. This never, ever happened.
We're going to get a cease and desist letter soon, aren't we?
Exactly. But he said that was his, then it wasn't that long after perhaps when he put two and two together and went, look how this actor, rose to fame. That the person back, the point of the whole story.
It's gone a bit off track.
I've still got the
that was
emperor
our
being
fault.
sexy in my head. The point of the whole story is you never know that the person that's backstage one day might be top of the
Emma
bill the
Thompson.
next day. Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
say that about publishers too. Never, ever be rude to publishers' assistants because one day they could
They'd
be
be in
the head
charge.
of the line and they will remember every author that was awful to them.
And I don't know if this has an
Wish
analogy in
people
the...
felt this way about me. I feel like people are happy being rude to me.
We're lovely
I'm
to
not
you.
scary enough.
You're so short.
My kids, it's true. It is true. My kids say I'm not scary. It really upsets me. I think I should be a bit
I
scarier.
think just like just Jekyll and hide them when they like you've lulled them in. Over, how old are they now?
If
They're
I
like
lose my temper, they laugh.
how old's Kirby? Like
Nearly 15.
nearly 15. So 15 years of lulling them, and now
they
you
turn.
just turn.
Yeah, I'm saving that for my
and you've
dementia.
got to commit to the turn. Absolutely. I don't know if there's an analogy for this in publishing, but directors who pretend to be caterers or things like that at an audition, or pretend to be
To
at the
see how they
start
get treated.
to see how they get treated.
Oh, that's a wonderful trick.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
And I
See,
think
I have
that's
to
a
think
really
when
good.
people treat me like the caterer.
Regardless,
they don't
you
realise-
could be the queen.
That happened to me at a funeral.
What?
Not that long ago. I was dressed in my suit and I was standing
Did
up
they ask
because
you
it
for a
was
coffee?
No, somebody came in and said,
Oh,
could you
no.
get us some more seats? And I said,
sure.
I'll just wave that guy over. He's
Oh,
See, I
must have
probably
looked
would have just
funereal.
got the seats.
yeah, that's the thing.
I didn't know where they were. I would have got them if I'd known
You
where they
have
were.
mine.
Have mine.
My shoes, have my
I've
suit.
done that before. Asked, and you suddenly realise halfway through the conversation, this person helping you doesn't work there.
Yeah.
And then you are human scum. Wow.
We have drifted quite a long way
Sorry.
from the original
From
point of your
networking.
story. We did. That's
We
right.
got there
Oh, yeah.
eventually.
Emma Thompson was
Emma
someone
Thompson,
listening to this got
Basically,
it.
what he was saying was anyone could be Emma Thompson, be careful.
Emma Thompson on a unicycle. That's
Well, she's
right.
that good. She's a chameleon. You just don't know.
A woman of 1,000 faces.
Yeah, because you do. I think perhaps where I was going is that sometimes at networking events, it's like I won't talk to this person because X is over there.
Oh.
But I think that's the most on a human level, it's horrendous. But also, I think B, it's very stupid. It's very stupid because you don't know.
One thing I love, because I go to Romance Writers of Australia or Romance Writers of America a lot, and romance writers are prolific, right? They write a lot of books. There's a lot of New York Times bestsellers, and they never look the way you think they're going to look, right? People have
Look
this...
like Fabio with like a wind
people
machine.
have
That's
all
how I
the-
go to conventions. I'm a number one New York Times bestseller.
In fact, Sean looks exactly like that. I want you to picture him now. Leather pants, open
If I took
shirt.
off my shirt. Here, I'm
open
opening up my shirt now. So, no,
Only-
I'm not, listener. I'm not.
I love that you
Not in a
committed to that
sexual
for a
way.
second.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Not
I'm
in a sexual
really
way.
not doing that. Not in a
anyway,
sexual way.
So they don't look like Barbara Cartland, right? And so
I don't really think all romance novels.
no, people
look
do though.
Really, because she's got a
People do.
special look.
She is quite special. Anyway, so you'll be sitting there talking to someone, and you'll have, and they're just working writers, and you have no idea that this person has written 44 #1 New York Times bestsellers. So you just go sit and chat to people, and not like they don't big note themselves.
I love people that don't.
Yeah, me too.
My first ever science fiction convention I went to was in 1994. It was in Melbourne. I was suffering from terrible panic attacks, was incredibly shy. I saw the one person I knew at the entire convention sitting on a chair, talking to some really nerdy-looking guy, and I went up to her and said, "Hello, how are you?" and had a very quick, nervous conversation with her and this guy. The guy eventually got up and wandered away, and my friend said, "That was William Gibson." And I went, no! I blanked William Gibson. But that's it. You just don't know.
I
who
didn't
you're
even
going to be
wear my
talking to.
Fabio pants.
Yeah.
He was very nice, you know.
And but most of those people have been there too,
Yes,
and I think that's the thing to remember.
Oh, Bill Gibson absolutely was, a struggling sci-fi writer before Neuromancer.
So I think that, and I think there's something really lovely about people who are honest about what they're feeling, and you kind of you gravitate to someone like that who says, I'm anxious or what have you, because it's human. I'm actually more turned off by the person that pretends either pretends or believes that they're amazing.
Sorry.
Looking across at
Oh, dearie me. So
but
networking,
ego's unattractive.
Yeah, narcissism is unattractive.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So any advice? Do we have any advice?
No
for
ego.
people? So I think the advice I would give somebody coming up and wondering about how to network, I would just say find a community and be an honest, genuine member of that community.
I think honest and genuine are the key words.
Yeah, and that community can be online, it can be in person.
And if you don't like it, don't worry. You don't have to do it. There are no rules.
People can tell if you're not enjoying something. So if you're great on Twitter and love doing it, do
nuts.
that. But don't feel you have to do it. If Instagram's your thing, great.
Yeah,
if it's
I don't
not,
think there's a single right thing to do except write good work. That's it.
That's right. And I think if you're going to be a professional writer, you kind of have to put yourself out there eventually at some point. But find a way that you like. Whether that's
locked in a room away from everyone except with these two guys, where you can just talk.
Oh, that's ideal.
No
Let's
one's
never
watching.
leave.
Let's never leave.
Well, actually, I say no one's watching, but Tom is drifting around.
Tom talking around.
Tom, yeah, I can just. Oh, yes, we've got to remember that Tom's here. We better not.
Is he giving you judgy eyes?
I don't know that he can do judgy eyes.
No, he's too lovely.
He's too nice. We should get Tom on the podcast one day. One day we are going to do interviews. We're going to bring in our special friends to talk
bringing
to
in
us.
Nana Joy.
Oh, Nana Joy, the infamous Nana Joy.
Can you bring in Emma Thompson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nana
if my
Joy
dad-
as
Ian
played by
McDermott.
Emma Thompson.
Well, if my dad wrote a porno can bring in Emma Thompson in on one of their episodes,
Emma,
why
if
can't
you're
we?
listening,
Please come see us.
Yeah.
Well, please can we come to your house and get pissed like the My Dad Wrote a Porno guys did. I want to do that.
But not in a sexual way.
Not in a sexual way. And same with the Queen, although in Alex's case, maybe.
Maybe.
in a sexual way. I'm not even going to go down this. Look, all I'm going to say is Princess Margaret gets all the kudos. Elizabeth doesn't get enough. That's
She's
it.
got a whole TV show now.
Mic drop, done.
I think you should be given I should give you a brief one day when I'm a billionaire. As much money as you want to write The Secret Erotic Life of Elizabeth Windsor. I think
that's
reckon,
probably out there somewhere.
It probably is, but a lot of networking required to get that off the ground. I think
he has too much respect to go there. I think he really
Erotica
respects
can
the
be
Queen.
respectful.
And with the BBC being defunded now by Boris to the tune of $270 million, maybe
I'm
they'll
going
be
to
grateful for my
write
billions.
The Secret Erotic Life of Boris Johnson.
Oh,
but it's
one
not
wants
secret.
that. That's a horror story.
Oh, so what we're doing now is we're kind of brainstorming, which we'll come back to in another episode where the brainstorming produces worthwhile results. In
That
this
was
case,
clearly
perhaps
gold.
not. Please don't steal it. That has been networking. Been lovely chatting with you. Thanks to Tom Young. Thanks to the dead Bob Roberts. Thanks, Alex and Amy. Is there anybody else we need to thank? Stephen Ten Horst, our
we've been
guest
eating Sean's
chocolatier.
chocolate.
We've been eating chocolates made in Adelaide by Stephen, and they are so delicious.
And a final thank you to Her Majesty.
Bye.
Why don't you write when you don't need money? All your notes sound alike too much. All of them start with I love you, honey, but they end with the same old touch. Just for change, send a nice loving letter and cut out that please remit. Why don't you write when you don't need money, honey? That would certainly make a hit.
So at the end, you're going to say happy writing, happy writing. What should I say? Should I say happy writing? Are we just going to go with it now?
I don't know.
But you should say that. You should say that.
Yeah, let's have that conversation. Let's have that conversation.
Okay, fine.
Okay, I'll start the timer and we'll start talking about now.
Hi, Jeremy Cordeaux in the Court of Public Opinion. I'm just on air here to let you know that we'll be live streaming the Court of Public Opinion every Friday between 9 o'clock and 12 on jeremycordeaux.com. Please join us. We'd love to have you.